Thank you very much for joining us today for the onboarding session for new administrators on the Geotab Drive application. We're going to focus most of our discussion today around My Geotab and specifically on how to set up the application for the drivers to start using Geotab Drive. For the agenda for today, we're going to take a look at the implementation guide, which is basically steps and certain practices that we recommend to go over before asking the drivers to start utilizing Geotab Drive applications for hours of service. We do have a video, so this meeting is being recorded, and a video is going to be uploaded that administrators can watch later on in the day if they are unable to complete this training session or if you didn't attend it today. So for the agenda, we're going to go over the company setup. We're going to focus on setting up the vehicles and the trailers. And we're going to take a look on how we can set up the vehicle inspection reports to match the regulations in different areas, such as Schedule 1 here in Canada. From there, we'll look into setting up drivers on the system, how we can manage those drivers, and how we can assign the different rule sets that applies for each driver. From there, we have the section for hours of service and vehicle inspection reports. So we will take a look into how we can edit and manage those duty status logs. How can we generate the compliance print report and generate the violations and the availability, and how we can also get certain add-ins and notifications into the system when, for example, a driver is in violation. So just a checklist that we recommend that you always have with you before you start using the system is to confirm that you have completed all the 7 steps listed in front of you as of this point. So we recommend to go over this prior to start using the application, just in case you run into any issues, you're aware and you're familiar on how to fix those issues from your end. The Compliance and Implementation Guide is a document, as I mentioned, that outlines certain best practices that is going to allow you to properly set up the system. We highly recommend to access the specific document that can be accessed directly from the presentation that is going to be shared with you at the end of this training session. The following documents that we are seeing on our screen right now are documents that we highly recommend to print and have in the vehicles the whole time. This includes the DVI or workflow, a diagnostic events and malfunction systems, and the ELD manual and data transfer description. A DOT, an MTO officer might ask for these documents. A driver should be able to present and produce those documents when asked. Failing to produce those documents is going to result in a citation. So please make sure that those documents are printed out, they're left in the vehicle, and the drivers are aware where those vehicles are being stored so they can produce them at any point of time. The hours of service admin video, as I mentioned, we do have a video for the presentation we're doing today. It is in the slides that we're going to be sharing with everyone, and also can be accessed on our YouTube channel. Just simply search for My Geotab HOS Admin. Where do I start? The system is going to take you through the setup and exactly what you need to do to set up your application to allow the drivers to start using the Geotab Drive app. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to move to an actual database. Everything I'm going to be discussing in the actual My Geotab application is outlined in the presentation that we had access to moments ago. So please feel free to reference back to the presentation if you have any questions or concerns. And questions will be answered at the end of this training session for any questions regarding the HOS admin side. So to start setting up your database, we always recommend first to start by adding the vehicle inspection reports for your region. So to do that, you start from the engine maintenance section of the database, going to DVIR, and selecting the defect list, which is at the top of the application. The system automatically will display the different schedules that you currently have on your system. And you can easily add the schedule for your company by adding the add option at the top and selecting the schedule from the list in here. Once selected, the system is going to download those specific details from our servers. The system from there will redirect you to a defect list edit page where you can easily edit those specific defects, add to the list, and add new sections to it. In addition, you can change the defect list name. So let's say, for example, we're going to label this as training. And then I can click on save at the top left-hand side, and the system is going to add schedule 1 with the training abbreviation that we added in here. Now, after adding the defect list for your vehicles, for your trucks, as well as for the trailers, from there, we recommend to move to the administration section of the database, system, and selecting system settings from the list. In here, we recommend to set up the company name, which is the company legal name, as this specific information is going to appear on the compliance report as well as on the vehicle inspection reports that the DOT officer is going to display. Add the company address. If you have multiple terminals, what we recommend is to set up the head office name in here. And then within each user's profile, we will be able to set up the terminal that each driver reports to at the end of the day. Now, if we scroll down to the bottom of the screen, we have a section to select the vehicle inspection reports that the drivers are going to utilize. So for the vehicles, we're going to let the system know that the drivers are going to use Schedule 1 training, which is the schedule that we set up on the system just moments ago. For the trailers, we can either change the schedule or we can leave the same defect list that we have set up on the system. Now, with regarding to the section Other, in here we have something called Maximum Personal Conveyance Distance. What personal conveyance is one of the exemptions that drivers can utilize for using the vehicle for personal reasons when they're driving from their home to the office and from the office to the home. And there shouldn't be any trailer attached to their vehicle. In Canada, the regulations indicates that the drivers are able to use the vehicle for maximum 75 kilometers. In US, it's not described. There is no set limit. It's described as reasonable distance. So if you're a Canadian-based customer, we always recommend to set that up at 75 kilometers. You can see my measurement system is in miles, so we can add the equivalent value in here. Or if you're in the US, you can set it based on a reasonable distance that the company considers to be reasonable and so on. After you're done the changes, just simply scroll to the top and select Save, and the system is going to save the changes that you have completed. Now, once you complete the setup of the General tab under System Settings, now it's time to start adding the trailers as well as adding the users into the system. So to add a trailer, it's again under the Engine and Maintenance section, under the Trailers tab. In here, you will be able to add the trailers individually by selecting the Add option at the top. Give the trailer your name, a comment field, and I always recommend to include the trailer license plate in the comments field. And you can assign the trailer to a specific group that you have set up in the Getting Started and Help presentation, which is one of the presentations we run on Mondays. Once you add the trailer, just select Save, and the system will add that trailer to the list. The other option you have is you can bulk import those trailers to the application. Just simply design or add the trailers into an Excel sheet. Merge all the data in the format that we're seeing in here, and copy paste the data from the Excel sheet into the document here, and you will be able to import all the trailers into your application. So if you have 1,000 trailers, it makes sense to move with this specific bulk import trailer tool. If you need any help, please feel free to reach out to the support team at support@gofleet.ca or through our support add-in on the left-hand side of the screen under the support ticket application. Now, once the trailers are added, then you can start adding the drivers into the application. So drivers can utilize the system and able to log into the application to be able to select the vehicles that they're driving today. To add a driver, you click on Add at the top, and you complete the user form. To add a driver, what we recommend instead of using an email address is just simply to use their first name and their last name. Add the driver's legal name into the first name fields and the last name field. A driver will not be able to receive an email to set up their password, as we did not use an email in here. So we need to switch this option to no and assign a password to this specific user. Under security clearance, whenever you're adding a driver, select the security clearance Drive app user. And then you can select the data access for this user if they're limited to access certain group of vehicles that you have set up on your system. You can add the designation for the user here, their employee number, and any comments you wish to add at the same time. From there, you move to the driver tab. You set this user as a driver. If this option is set to no, then you're going to have issues with the driver's status changes. The automatic status changes are not going to happen. So if this option is no, you have to fix that immediately if the driver is having issues with the automatically changing the statuses. Once you switch this option to yes, then simply go and add the driver license details here, as well as the state and the province this driver is registered to. Under UI settings, just configure the UI settings based on the home terminal location, the home terminal settings. So if you're in US, you set it up with US Imperial, and Canadian, we're going to set it up with metric. You can select the date, time formats, and the time zone of the home terminal for the driver. We always recommend to activate feature preview so you can get access to certain features that are still under development, but are fully accessible by you as an end user. Under the HOS settings tab, this is where we can set up the HOS rule set that the drivers is following. If the user is in Canada, then they have access to the Canada 7-day cycle 1 and Canada 14-day cycle 2. If we're in US, we have access to multiple various application or rule sets, then we can use. Let's go ahead with the US property 70-hour 8-day. You will notice the system is going to show you any exemptions that the drivers can get access to. So if we're operating from the oil field or oil well services, we can activate the oil well wait time. And within the system, we have other exemptions with regard to yard move and personal conveyance. So what yard move is, basically the drivers are allowed to maintain their status on an on-duty status, not driving, when they are within the yard. So the system is only going to consume from on-duty time and is not going to affect their driving time at all. What personal conveyance is, as we discussed before, is allowing the drivers to use the exemptions to maintain their status on an off-duty status while there is no trailer attached to their vehicle, and they're using the vehicle for personal use. Now, with regarding to home terminal name and authority name, the main difference is the home terminal is where the drivers are reporting back to. Authority name is the main company that they are working for. So if they're reporting to the same, they're working for the same company that the home terminal is registered to, then we can have those details exactly matching as we have in here. Now, once we are complete, we completed this form and everything is set up correctly, then we can go ahead and save that specific user. This user will be added to the system. This user has access to company group. This user is a Drive app user onto the system and to the application. In the future, if I wish to edit this user, I can select this user and I can make any changes to it. Let's say, for example, this driver is no longer working with us, but I still would like to maintain their hours of service logs. Then the proper way to do it is to select remove and to make this user historical. This will automatically save every single hours of service status log for the driver. So it's always important to make sure and to understand that if we are going to maintain hours of service logs, we have to do it properly. Otherwise, as soon as they hit delete, the logs are gone and we can no longer access those specific logs for the driver. Now, once the driver is set up, then we can go ahead and share the user information with the driver. And drivers will be able to log into the system and they can go ahead and start using the application. Now, from an admin standpoint, once the driver starts using the application, you immediately have access to the different reports that they are generating from their end. This includes the vehicle inspection reports that they complete. So under Engine and Maintenance DVIR, I'm able to run a report for the vehicle inspection reports submitted for all my vehicles, and I'm able to see exactly what they have submitted. So in here, I can see a submission has been completed by Emil, a pre-trip inspection. I can click on it, and I can see the details for that in specific inspection. So I can see the address of the inspection, I can see the odometer readings at that specific point, the license plate, and I can complete the repairs if necessary. In addition to the vehicle inspection reports, you immediately have access to the driver's hours of service status logs. So you can go to the activity tab, HOS, and duty status logs. Under duty status logs, you can simply run a report for a driver for a set time period for a specific driver, and you will be able to generate the driver's report for the different statuses that he has created. Now, if we take a look at those logs are color-coded. So any off-duty statuses are always going to be in gray color. Any exemptions applied will be in light blue. Any driving statuses will be in a driving status, and every single sleeper berth status is going to be in red. Now, as an admin, you're able to make changes to those logs. To make a change, you simply click on the log, and the system is going to allow you to make the change. This specific log we selected, you will notice that the status page in here cannot be changed. And the main reason behind that is the vehicle was in motion when this log was created. And the reason, if we take a look at the bottom where it says origin, we're noticing that this is an automatic system log that the system has created. And with the new regulations, any automatic logs created by the system are not going to be editable by the end user, such as an admin, or the driver as well. But if we select the on-duty log in here, then I can go ahead and change the status from on-duty to off-duty. And after changing the status, I do have to add a comment in here and explaining why exactly I'm making that change. Forgot to switch to off-duty. From there, I select Save at the top. System is going to go ahead and add the annotation, but as you can see, the on-duty status remained. With the new regulations, drivers need to approve the changes that the admin team is doing. So from a driver's standpoint on their application, once they log into the Hours of Service app, this specific log is going to be highlighted in yellow, and the drivers have to approve by either accepting or rejecting the changes that the admin team has made. Now, if we take a look at the modifications, the modification is still pending according to what we see to the message at the top. So changes admin make from their end are not going to be reflected immediately on the driver's logs until the drivers actually accept the change that the admin team has made. Now, within the same page as well, we can see if those logs are certified by just simply checking if there is a check mark beside those logs. Now, in the graph that can be displayed for each day separately, the graph is also color-coded. When the graph is color-coded with green, that means that the log has been certified. Any logs that have been changed to yellow, these means that those logs has been edited. And any logs highlighted in red, that means that the driver was driving in violation. Now, to generate this compliance sprint report, I can select compliance from the top. The system is going to generate the compliance sprint report for each day individually, and it's going to add the different details that a DOT officer needs to see. So for example, in here, we have the day, which is December 12th, the company, the home terminal name, address, details. We can see the truck number the driver was using. We can see the driver's name, the hours of service rule set that he was using, and the start and end odometer readings at the same time. And you can see each day individually as well. Now the driver is able to generate this from his end as well. But as an admin team, I can go ahead and save this as a PDF, or I can print out this directly using one of the printers I have at the office. Now, one recommendation I always recommend as well is just make sure that when you set up your vehicles is to complete the setup of the vehicle and confirm the vehicle odometer readings at the point of installation. So if you're noticing that the system is not pulling the correct odometer readings, just make sure you update the odometer readings value in the vehicles page. Now, continuing with the HOS reports, under HOS, we have a violations report. In the violations report, we're able to run a HOS violations report for all our drivers, and we can take a look at the different violations that the drivers have recorded, what type of violation, when did it start, and exactly the description for this violation. I can, from here, access the violations or the logs for this drivers by selecting View Logs, and immediately the system will take me to that driver's logs. From there, I can open the graph, and we can see how this driver was driving in violation during this time period in here. Now, under the Availability tab, in here, I can take a look at the driver's availability. So we can have a live view of their current statuses. I can take a look at exactly how many hours left for driving on duty for their workday as well as the cycle. So as a dispatch team, if I would like to dispatch a driver to a certain location, and I'm taking a look at their driving time and I'm noticing they only have an hour left, but it's going to take them 2 hours to complete and arrive to that location, then it does not make sense to send that driver to that specific area. Now, within the application itself, we do have different reports that can allow you to better manage the fleet. So if you go to our marketplace application, under custom reports, within the custom reports section, there is different and various HOS logs that you can download. So feel free to take a look at those different reports we have on the system, such as I would like to notice if the drivers are using the personal conveyance excessively, if there is so many unverified logs on the system that the drivers still did not verify in the past 14 days, and so on. In addition to that, for customers traveling between US and Canada, under the Free Solutions tab, we have the option to allow the drivers to switch between Canadian and US rule sets once they cross the borders. So just simply search for the border crossing 70-hour 8-day, or search for the other add-ins that we have within the application. So for example, if you're using the 60-hour 7-day, you can see we have the whole short-haul switcher in here and the different type of add-ins. So simply select install from the list, and from there you will be able to install that specific tool into the driver's applications, and there is documentation that explains how that specific tool can be utilized to switch the status of the drivers between the different rule sets in Canada and in US. If you require any support, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to the support team through the add-in for submitting support tickets, which is available on the left-hand side menu of your screen. Just simply complete the support ticket form, and you can go ahead and submit that to us. Or you can reach the support team by going to the support tab at the top, and the support phone numbers and emails are available here as well. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And if there is any questions, please feel free to ask us right now, and we will answer those immediately for you. Thank you.